Sir, you checked everything. Why are you still stopping me?
Turn off that phone right now or this gets worse.
I'm allowed to record. This is discrimination and everything is being documented.
Your ID looks suspicious. Step aside now.
I gave you everything you asked for. You're profiling me because of my skin color.
A single moment can change everything. A routine trip to the airport turned into a nightmare for Navy sailor Petty Officer Second Class Leela Monroe. She had served her country on submarines, risking her life for the United States, and yet, at Atlanta's International Airport, she was treated like a criminal. All because of the color of her skin. One TSA officer, thinking he could intimidate her, made a mistake that would ruin his career and make the world watch. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from. Type your city or country in the comments, and please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of this story. Leela, 28 years old, entered Terminal C early that morning, carrying a small suitcase and her brown leather bag. She wore simple, casual clothes and walked calmly through the busy airport. She blended in with the travelers, nothing in her appearance giving any hint of trouble. She was on a last-minute assignment, a classified naval briefing in Norfolk, and she had arrived early to avoid missing her flight. The line at security moved normally at first. People were unloading their bags, taking off their shoes, and joking about airport rules. Leela waited behind a man in a suit scrolling on his phone. Then Officer Connor Hale, a TSA agent with 6 years of experience, noticed her. When she handed him her military ID, something changed. He looked at her like the ID couldn't belong to her, squinting and frowning, as if her presence alone was suspicious. "What is this?" he asked. "My military ID, sir," Leela answered calmly. "You're military," he said, almost like it was a joke. "Yes, Navy," she replied. Connor stared at her slowly, then called another officer over. "Need a status check on this," he said loudly. Leela felt the eyes of the other travelers on her. No explanation was given. Others were waved past while she waited. The status check lasted 15 minutes. Leela politely asked twice if there was a problem. Connor ignored her both times. When he finally returned, he handed her ID back and said, "You'll need to step aside for additional screening." "For what reason?" she asked. "No reason necessary," he smirked. Leela reached quietly into her bag and began recording on her phone. At first, she held it casually, not pointing it directly at him, but the camera was capturing everything. Another officer approached, gloves already on. "We need to inspect your hair," he said. "My hair?" Leela asked. Her hair was in a simple bun. Connor interrupted. "It's thick. Could hide something." Leela felt her blood boil, but she stayed calm. "I serve on a U.S. Navy submarine. I risk my life for this country. You think I would hide something in my hair?" He shrugged as if she were beneath him. The officers patted her down aggressively, emptied every item in her purse, made her remove her shoes twice, and went through her suitcase. Passengers began filming the scene with their phones. Some shook their heads in disbelief. One woman confronted a TSA supervisor, demanding the harassment stop. Connor refused, insisting he needed to finish what he called a final explosive screening. 40 more minutes passed. Leela looked at the departure screen. Her flight was boarding. She told Connor urgently, but he didn't care. By the time she collected her things and rushed to the gate, the doors were closed. Her seat was empty. Her mission delayed. She breathed heavily, staring at the screen that read "Departed." She had recorded everything. She knew this was far from over. Moments later, security approached her again. Return to screening. Another issue. "What now?" she asked, tense and frustrated. 2 airport guards escorted her back. Witnesses stared, confused and upset. Connor waited with arms crossed, his expression satisfied, as if he had discovered a major threat. "There's an issue with your bag," he announced. "What issue?" Leela asked. Connor pointed at the X-ray monitor. "Unidentified object in the lining. We need to cut the bag open. Leela shook her head. Absolutely not. That's U.S. government property. If you refuse, we'll escalate, Connor replied. With no choice, Leela stepped aside, resumed recording, this time clearly pointing the camera at Connor. He smirked, dismissive, and spoke as if she were a criminal. Put the phone down, he ordered. I have the right to record, she said firmly. He stepped closer. You're interfering with security. Other passengers began recording from multiple angles. Some called out, leave her alone. She's military. This is discrimination. A supervisor finally came over, checking the monitors. After a few moments, she whispered to Connor, there's nothing in the lining. Connor's face turned red. We should check again, he snapped. You've checked enough, the supervisor said. But Connor kept pushing, wanting to make Leela seem like the problem. The supervisor turned to Leela. I apologize for the inconvenience. You're free to go. Leela didn't smile or thank them. She held up her phone and said clearly, this is how they treat a U.S. Navy submariner because of my skin color. Within minutes, her video went viral. Comments poured in. This is racial profiling. Sue the TSA. We got your back, sailor. People tagged government accounts, Navy pages, and news outlets. Airline staff who witnessed the harassment came forward. Connor remained at his post, unaware that his actions had begun destroying his career online. That night, Leela stayed in a cheap airport hotel, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she replayed the humiliation and how they ignored her service. Then her phone vibrated. Messages from her command. Full investigation underway. TSA headquarters notified. Another. CNN requests interview. She realized this wasn't just about her. It was about everyone treated unfairly. She had proof, she had the truth on camera, and now the world was watching. Tomorrow, authorities would meet her in Norfolk. And Connor. He was about to see the consequences of his biggest mistake. By the next morning, Leela's video had reached millions. News outlets replayed the moment Connor shouted, "Put the phone down," while Leila stood calm and disciplined. Her flight landed in Norfolk at 7:45 a.m. A Navy liaison met her at the gate, silently handing her a folder and guiding her to a vehicle. Inside were screenshots from her viral video and a formal statement request. Her command treated this as more than a complaint. It was a national embarrassment. At Naval Station Norfolk, Leela entered a briefing room filled with senior officers, legal representatives, and Department of Defense officials. One captain began, "We back you, and we will not allow this to go unanswered." They watched the full recording, every unnecessary search, every insult hidden as procedure. A legal officer confirmed TSA had been contacted and was now scrambling, reviewing reports, CCTV footage, and witness statements. Meanwhile, across the country, Connor Hale felt the first real impact. Arriving at work, he was met by supervisors who escorted him to a private room. Due to an ongoing investigation into a discriminatory incident, you were suspended pending review, one said. He tried to argue, blaming Leela, claiming she was uncooperative, but the supervisors didn't respond. His badge and uniform top were taken, and he was told to leave the airport. Outside, reporters surrounded him. Why target a U.S. sailor? Was race a factor? Connor covered his face with his hands. His humiliation had begun. At TSA headquarters, lawyers examined the case. This was not just a video. Connor had invented suspicion. Leela was interviewed by federal investigators with military precision, answering every question calmly. She explained that she had no personal dispute with TSA, only with the abuse of authority that blocked her from completing a national assignment. One investigator asked, "What outcome do you hope for?" Leela paused. She wasn't seeking revenge. She said firmly, "I want accountability for him, and for anyone who allows this to happen. Hours later, her command held a press briefing. They confirmed that Leela was on official duty and that the TSA's actions had affected national operations. Social media exploded. Fire him. Compensate her. Racism in airport security is a threat. Civil rights groups, veterans organizations, and politicians demanded action. By evening, TSA publicly apologized, promising full cooperation with federal authorities. But Leela knew an apology was not enough. Her mission had been delayed, her dignity attacked. She returned to her quarters with resolve, knowing justice was coming. The Department of Justice acted quickly. The case was classified as a civil rights violation with potential criminal charges. Formal charges against Connor Hale were filed for discriminatory abuse of authority, including profiling, harassment, and obstruction of official military duty. For a man enforcing federal security laws, the consequences were serious. Connor was summoned for questioning. In the federal building, he realized he had no control. TSA attorneys refused to defend him. His union advised silence. Clips from Leela's recording played on the screen. Every gesture, every excuse, every unnecessary delay. The evidence was overwhelming. Leela was invited to speak with senior TSA officials via video conference. They apologized personally and promised reforms, including anti-bias training and immediate disciplinary reviews at airports. But the changes were only the start. The airline transporting military personnel faced a $20 million fine for failing to prevent the racial profiling incident that disrupted national operations. Headlines screamed, Navy Submariner targeted, airport harassment on camera, racism in security checkpoint exposed. Thousands of service members and veterans shared their own stories online. Leela's inbox overflowed with messages of support. People thanked her for speaking up, not just for herself, but for everyone who had been treated unfairly. Connor tried to defend himself during a disciplinary hearing, blaming stress, protocols, and even Leela's phone. But the board saw the evidence. He was terminated from TSA, lost his federal security clearance, and became unemployable in his field. Reporters covered his downfall, while Leela's command recognized her resilience. She received a commendation for professionalism under discriminatory pressure and temporary leave to recover from the emotional toll. The following week, Leela addressed a hall full of sailors, Marines, airmen, and soldiers. She didn't feel like a hero or victorious. She felt responsible to give the truth a voice. They tried to strip me of respect I earned, but the world saw what happened. And because of that, change is happening today. The audience gave her a standing ovation. Connor faced another blow, a civil lawsuit requiring him to pay damages from his own pocket. His social media accounts vanished. Friends distanced themselves. Former colleagues refused contact. Once he had authority over travelers like Leela, now he could not enter an airport without raising suspicion. Leela did not celebrate his downfall. She focused on her duty and integrity. She returned to her submarine assignment and served her country with pride. She knew she had preserved justice, not by demanding it, but by showing the truth. Every time she went through airport security afterward, her head was held high, because the world had seen what had happened and justice had been real. The story of Leela Monroe became a symbol, a warning against racial profiling, a lesson in accountability, and a reminder that courage and calm discipline could overcome abuse of power. Her bravery showed that speaking the truth could lead to real change.